Have you ever faced a choice where your heart screamed to do one thing, but your head begged for another? A moment where time froze, and the world seemed to hinge on what you do next? For Amara Jones, that moment came in the chaos of Miami International Airport, where the clatter of rolling suitcases and the hum of hurried voices filled the air. At 26, Amara was a waitress at the Starlight Hotel, her life a blur of serving coffee and clearing plates, all to keep a promise to her younger brother, Eli. Her white shirt and red waistcoat clung to her skin, damp with sweat, as she wove through the crowded terminal, her blonde hair neatly braided, bouncing against her back. She was late, dangerously late, for a flight that could change everything. Amara's black sneakers squeaked against the polished floor as she clutched her boarding pass, her heart pounding. The gate for her New York flight was a 10-minute sprint away, and the clock on the airport's digital screens glared, 6:45 p.m. Her flight boarded at 7 o'clock. This wasn't just any trip. The Starlight Hotel had offered her a transfer to their flagship location in Manhattan, a step up from her Miami shifts, with better pay and a chance to finally save enough for Eli's dream. Eli, her 16-year-old brother, was a quiet kid with a gift for sketching that lit up his eyes. His sketches of cityscapes and faces were so vivid they seemed to breathe, but art school was a dream their single mother's income and Amara's tips couldn't touch. Amara had been 18 when their mom passed, leaving her to raise Eli. She'd promised him she'd find a way, and this New York job was her shot. She dodged a family dragging oversized luggage, her small backpack bouncing against her shoulders. The airport smelled of stale coffee and cleaning solution, and the overhead speakers crackled with gate announcements. Final call for Flight 237 to New York. A voice boomed, and Amara's stomach lurched. She was close now, the gate numbers climbing as she ran, B12, B14, B16. Her gate, B18, was just ahead. She could see the line of passengers dwindling as the gate agent scanned boarding passes. Her future was so close she could taste it. A new city, a better paycheck, and Eli's chance at a school where his talent could shine. But then she saw him. An old man, maybe in his late 70s, stood alone near a coffee kiosk, his hand pressed against his chest. His gray suit jacket was wrinkled, and his face was pale, almost gray, as he leaned against a wall. His eyes darted around, confused, and his knees buckled slightly, like he was fighting to stay upright. The crowd flowed around him, indifferent, as travelers rushed to their gates. Amara slowed, her breath catching. Something was wrong. She glanced at her watch, 6:50 p.m. 10 minutes. She could still make it. But the man's hand trembled, and he slid down the wall, his suitcase tipping over with a dull thud. "Hey, are you okay?" Amara called, stepping closer. Her voice was soft but urgent, cutting through the airport's noise. The man looked up, his eyes cloudy with pain. "I don't know," he said, his voice thin. "My chest, it's tight." Amara's heart sank. She wasn't a doctor, but she'd seen enough late-night shifts at the hotel to know this looked bad. She knelt beside him, her boarding pass crinkling in her hand. "Do you have medicine? Or someone with you?" she asked. He shook his head, his breathing shallow. "No, just me. Victor. My name's Victor." Amara's eyes flicked to the gate. The line was almost gone now, the gate agent waving the last passengers through. Her flight, her chance, was slipping away. She thought of Eli, sketching at their tiny kitchen table back home, his dreams pinned on her. But Victor's face was ashen, his hand clutching her arm like a lifeline. "I'm Amara," she said, forcing a calm she didn't feel. "I'm gonna get you help, okay? Just stay with me." She waved at a passing airport worker, a young guy in a neon vest pushing a cart. "Hey, we need help over here." "He's not okay." The worker jogged over, his radio crackling as he called for medical assistance. Amara stayed by Victor's side, her hand on his shoulder, talking to keep him calm. "Where you headed, Victor?" she asked, her voice steady despite the knot in her chest. "Boston," he said faintly. "Visiting my daughter, Sophia. Haven't seen her in months." Amara nodded, squeezing his shoulder. "That sounds nice. Tell me about her." She kept him talking, his words slow but steady, as the seconds ticked by. She didn't dare look at the gate again. A medic arrived, a woman with a red bag and a brisk manner. "What happened?" she asked, kneeling beside Victor. Amara explained quickly, chest pain, trouble breathing, no one with him. The medic checked his pulse, her face serious. "We need to get him to the hospital. Now." Amara helped Victor to his feet as the medic called for a stretcher. His hand gripped hers, surprisingly strong. "Thank you," he whispered, his eyes locking on hers. "You didn't have to stop." Amara swallowed hard, managing a smile. "Anyone would've," she said, but the words felt hollow. Not everyone would've. She knew that. The stretcher arrived, and the medics moved fast, wheeling Victor toward the terminal's exit. Amara stood frozen, her boarding pass still in her hand, now crumpled. She turned toward the gate, but it was empty. The plane was gone. Her phone buzzed, probably Eli, checking if she'd made it. She didn't answer. The weight of what she'd done hit her like a wave. She'd missed her flight, her chance, for a stranger. Her chest tightened, not with pain but with a mix of fear and regret. What had she just given up? She followed the medics to the ambulance parked outside, the Miami heat hitting her like a wall after the air-conditioned terminal. Victor was loaded in, an oxygen mask over his face. The medic turned to her. "You coming with him? He's got no one else here." Amara hesitated, her mind racing. She had no flight now, no plan. Eli was waiting for her call, probably sketching in their cramped apartment, believing in her. But Victor's eyes found hers through the ambulance doors, grateful and scared. She couldn't leave him alone. "Yeah, I'm coming," she said, climbing in. The doors slammed shut, and the siren wailed as they pulled away. Amara sat beside Victor, her red waistcoat wrinkled, her braid loosening. She didn't know what came next, for her, for Eli, for any of it. All she knew was that she'd made a choice, and it felt bigger than her. The ambulance sped through Miami's glowing streets, and Amara's heart pounded, not with the rush of a race to a gate, but with the quiet certainty that she'd done something right, even if it cost her everything. The ambulance wove through Miami's evening traffic, its siren slicing through the humid air. Amara Jones sat in the back, her hands clasped tightly in her lap, the red waistcoat of her Starlight Hotel uniform sticking to her skin. The sterile smell of antiseptic filled the small space, mixing with the faint scent of Victor's cologne. Victor Langston lay on the stretcher, his eyes half closed under the oxygen mask, his chest rising and falling unevenly. Amara watched him, her heart still racing from the choice she'd made. She'd missed her flight to New York, the one that was supposed to change her life and her brother Eli's future. Now she was here, in an ambulance with a stranger, her phone silent but heavy in her pocket, carrying Eli's unanswered texts. The medic, a woman with short hair and a calm efficiency, checked Victor's vitals, her hands moving with practiced speed. "You did good getting help fast," she said to Amara without looking up. "He's stable for now, but we need to get him to the ER." Amara nodded, her throat tight. "Is he gonna be okay?" she asked, her voice quieter than she meant. The medic glanced at her, softening. "We're doing everything we can. You being here helps." Amara forced a small smile, but her mind was a storm. She kept seeing the empty gate at Miami International, the plane taking off without her, and Eli's face when she'd have to tell him she'd failed. Victor stirred, his hand reaching out weakly. Amara took it, his fingers cold but gripping hers with surprising strength. "You're still here," he said, his voice muffled by the mask but warm with gratitude. "You don't even know me." Amara squeezed his hand gently. "Doesn't matter," she said. "You needed someone. I was there." But as the words left her mouth, doubt crept in. Had she done the right thing? Eli was counting on her, his art school dreams pinned on her getting that better-paying job in New York. She'd promised him, back when they were kids eating cereal at their mom's kitchen table, that she'd make sure he had a shot at something bigger. Now what? The ambulance pulled into the hospital, its tires crunching on the pavement as it stopped at the ER entrance. The doors flew open, and the medics moved fast, wheeling Victor inside. Amara followed, her sneakers squeaking on the linoleum floor. The air was a blur of beeping monitors, hurried nurses, and the sharp smell of disinfectant. Victor was taken to a curtained bay, where a doctor with tired eyes started asking questions. Amara hovered nearby, unsure of her place. "Are you family?" the doctor asked, glancing at her uniform. Amara shook her head. "No, I found him at the airport. He was alone." The doctor nodded, jotting something down. "You can wait in the lounge. We'll update you soon." Amara sank into a plastic chair in the waiting area, the hum of fluorescent lights overhead making her head throb. Her phone buzzed again. She pulled it out, her stomach twisting as she read his text. "Did you make it? Call me." She stared at the screen, her thumb hovering over the reply button. What could she say? That she'd thrown away their chance for a stranger? She set the phone down, her hands trembling. The lounge was quiet, save for the soft murmur of a TV in the corner and the occasional cough from another visitor. Her braid was coming loose now, strands of blonde hair sticking to her neck. She felt small, out of place in her waitress uniform, like she didn't belong in this moment or this choice. A nurse approached after what felt like hours but was probably only 30 minutes. "You're with Mr. Langston?" she asked. Amara nodded, standing. "He's stable," the nurse said. "Possible heart issue, but he's responding well. We're keeping him for observation. He's asking for you." Relief washed over Amara, but it was fleeting, chased by the weight of what came next. She followed the nurse to Victor's bay, where he lay propped up on pillows, the oxygen mask gone. His face was still pale, but his eyes were clearer, and he managed a weak smile. "Amara," he said, his voice stronger now. "You didn't have to stay." "I wanted to make sure you were okay," she said, standing awkwardly by the curtain. Victor studied her, his gaze sharp despite his frailty. "You missed something important, didn't you?" he asked. Amara's breath caught. She nodded, unable to lie. "A flight. For a job in New York. It was a big deal for me and my brother." Victor's expression softened, and he reached for her hand again. "I'm sorry," he said. "But what you did, not everyone would. You're a good person, Amara." The words hit her hard, warming her chest but also stinging. Being good didn't pay for Eli's art school. It didn't get her to New York. She smiled tightly, murmuring a thanks, and excused herself to let him rest. As she stepped out of the bay, her phone buzzed again. Another text from Eli. "You okay? Getting worried?" She typed a quick reply. "I'm fine. Missed the flight. I'll explain later." Her thumb hesitated before hitting send, the words feeling like a confession of failure. Amara took a cab back to her apartment, the Miami skyline blurring past in streaks of neon and palm trees. The driver was quiet, and she was grateful for it. Her mind churned with what if? What if she'd kept running to her gate? What if she'd ignored Victor? Would she be on a plane right now, dreaming of a new life? The cab pulled up to her building, a squat, faded complex where she and Eli shared a one-bedroom apartment. She paid the driver with the last of her cash, her tips from her last shift at the Starlight Hotel. The stairwell smelled of fried onions and damp carpet as she climbed to the third floor. Inside, Eli was at the kitchen table, his sketchbook open, pencils scattered around him. His dark hair fell into his eyes as he looked up, relief flooding his face. "Amara, what happened? I thought you'd be in New York by now." She dropped her backpack by the door, her red waistcoat crumpled, and sank into a chair across from him. "I missed the flight," she said, her voice flat. Eli's eyes widened. "What? How?" She told him everything. The rush through the airport, Victor's collapse, the ambulance, the hospital. Eli listened, his pencil still in his hand, his face shifting from confusion to something softer, prouder. "You did the right thing," he said when she finished. "That guy could have died." Amara's eyes stung, and she looked away, staring at the cracked linoleum floor. "Maybe," she said. "But now what? That job was our shot, Eli. For you, for art school, for everything." Eli reached across the table, his hand resting on hers. "We'll figure it out. We always do." But his voice was too young, too hopeful, and it broke her heart. She nodded, forcing a smile, but inside, she was drowning in worry. The Starlight Hotel in Miami would let her keep her waitress job, but it wasn't enough. Not for Eli's dreams. Not for the life she'd promised him. That night, Amara lay on the couch, her bed for the past 8 years so Eli could have the bedroom. The apartment was quiet, save for the hum of the fridge and the occasional car outside. Her uniform hung over a chair, the red waistcoat a reminder of the life she was stuck in. She stared at the ceiling, her mind replaying the day, the clatter of airport carts, Victor's trembling hand, the empty gate. She'd done the right thing, hadn't she? But as sleep pulled her under, all she could feel was the weight of what she'd lost, and the fear that she'd let Eli down for nothing. She hadn't slept well. Her phone buzzed on the coffee table, snapping her out of her thoughts. Expecting Eli, she glanced at the screen, but it was an unknown number. Her stomach tightened as she answered. "Hello, this is Amara." "Amara, this is Sophia Langston," a warm, steady voice said. "I'm Victor's daughter. I'm calling about what you did for my father at the airport." Amara's breath caught. She'd left her contact info with the hospital, but a call from Victor's daughter was unexpected. "Is he okay?" she asked, her voice soft. Sophia's tone softened too. "He's stable, thanks to you. He told me how you stayed with him, missed your flight. I can't thank you enough." Amara murmured a quiet, "You're welcome," her mind racing. Then Sophia's voice turned professional, warm but direct. "My father wants to meet you. Can you come to New York? We'll cover the flight and expenses." Amara froze, her fingers tightening around the phone. Victor wanted to meet her? But she managed a shaky yes, and Sophia promised to send details. As the call ended, Amara stared at the wall, her heart pounding. What could this mean? 2 days later, Amara boarded a plane to New York, her first time leaving Miami in years. Eli had seen her off at the apartment, his dark hair falling into his eyes as he hugged her. "This feels like something big, Amara," he said, clutching his sketchbook. His hope was infectious, but Amara couldn't shake her doubts. Was this just a formal thank you? Would she return to her waitress shifts, scraping by for Eli's future? The plane's hum was soothing, but her mind churned. She wore a simple sweater and jeans, her blonde braid neat as always, but she felt out of place among the business travelers. The New York skyline appeared through the window, a glittering promise she wasn't sure she could trust. At LaGuardia Airport, a driver in a black suit held a sign with her name. The Starlight Hotel's Manhattan flagship was nothing like the modest Miami location. A towering structure of glass and steel, its lobby gleaming with marble and chandeliers. Amara's sneakers felt too loud on the polished floor as she was led to a private office on the top floor. Victor Langston sat behind a wide desk, his gray suit crisp, his face healthier than it had been at the airport. Beside him stood Sophia, a woman in her early 40s with a kind smile and sharp eyes. "Amara," Victor said, standing to shake her hand, his grip firm. "You gave me more than help that day. You gave me time with my family." Sophia nodded, her expression warm. "We want to repay you." Victor's words came slowly, deliberate. "I'm Victor Langston, founder of Starlight Hotels. What you did at the airport showed heart, something this company needs." Amara's jaw dropped. The man she'd helped, the one in the wrinkled suit, was the billionaire behind the hotel chain she'd worked for? Before she could process it, Victor continued. "We're offering you a position as guest relations manager here in Manhattan. It's a big step up with a salary to match." He paused, his eyes softening. "And we know about your brother, Eli. He's got talent. We're funding a full scholarship for him at the Pratt Institute." Amara's eyes stung, her breath shallow. Eli at Pratt? His sketches of cityscapes and faces, his dreams of art school. It could actually happen. "I don't know what to say," she stammered. Sophia smiled. "Say yes." Tears spilled over as Amara nodded. "Yes. Thank you." Weeks later, Amara settled into her new life in New York. She and Eli moved into a small but bright apartment near Pratt, a far cry from their cramped Miami place. Amara's office at the Starlight overlooked Central Park, its green expanse calming her nerves. She traded her waitress uniform for a tailored navy blazer, her braids still her signature, but her posture was straighter, her smile surer. The guest relations manager role was demanding, handling VIP requests, soothing upset guests, coordinating staff, but Amara excelled. She listened to guests with the same care she'd shown Victor, turning complaints into smiles. Staff noticed her knack for noticing the little things. A guest's tired sigh, a child's shy glance. She made people feel seen. One evening, Victor called her to his office. His health had improved, and his presence carried a quiet authority. Amara, he said, leaning back in his chair, you're not just managing guests. You're changing how this hotel feels. I want you to lead something bigger. He proposed the Starlight Compassion Program, a training initiative to teach staff to prioritize kindness, to notice the struggling, the overlooked, like she had with him. Amara's heart raced. She'd never led anything like this, but the idea felt right. She spent weeks designing the program, drawing on her years as a waitress, where she'd learned to read people's needs. The program trained staff to spot distress, offer help, and create moments of care, from a concierge fetching a forgotten toy to a doorman helping an elderly guest with luggage. The Compassion Program launched quietly, but its impact was immediate. Guests left glowing reviews, mentioning small acts of kindness. A housekeeper leaving a note for a lonely traveler, a bartender comping a coffee for a stressed parent. Amara trained staff herself, sharing stories of her airport moment with Victor, urging them to act on instinct when someone needed help. But what transformed everything was a video. Unbeknownst to Amara, a security camera at Miami International had captured her helping Victor, her red waistcoat vivid as she knelt beside him, her face calm but urgent. Someone posted it online, and it exploded, racking up millions of views. Waitress hero misses flight to save stranger trended across platforms. The Starlight's social media flooded with praise, guests sharing their own stories of kindness from staff trained by Amara's program. The video changed the game. Victor called a board meeting, Amara at his side, and announced the Compassion Program would roll out to every Starlight hotel nationwide. This is Amara's vision, he said, his voice proud. It's who we are now. Amara stood there, her heart full, as executives applauded. The program wasn't just a policy, it was reshaping the hotel's identity. Guests chose Starlight for its warmth, not just its luxury. Other hotel chains took notice, with some adopting similar training. Amara's choice at the airport, a single moment of kindness, had rippled into an industry shift. A year later, Amara stood at LaGuardia Airport, waiting for a guest shuttle. She was 27 now, her braids still neat, her navy blazer sharp. Eli was thriving at Pratt, his sketches now bold paintings, his future bright. Amara's confidence had grown, but her heart hadn't changed. As she scanned the terminal, she noticed a young mother struggling with a stroller, a crying toddler, and a pile of bags. The woman's face was tight with stress, her hands fumbling. Amara didn't hesitate. "Hey, need some help?" she asked, stepping closer. The woman looked up, relief washing over her. "Oh, please," she said. Amara grabbed the bags, steadied the stroller, and talked to the toddler, pointing at planes through the window to calm him. "You're a godsend," the mother said as they reached the shuttle. Amara smiled. "Just doing what I do." Back at the hotel, Amara checked her email in her office. A message from Sophia detailed the Compassion Program's growth, now in every Starlight hotel, with staff sharing stories of their own acts of kindness. A bellhop helping a lost tourist, a maid leaving extra towels for a family with a sick child. The program had sparked a movement, with hospitality schools studying it and competitors launching their own versions. Amara leaned back, the Manhattan skyline glowing outside her window. She thought of Eli, painting in his dorm, of Victor, now a mentor, and of the mother at the airport. Her choice to help a stranger had changed her life, Eli's life, and countless others. It had turned a hotel chain into a beacon of care and started a nationwide push for kindness in hospitality. Amara's legacy wasn't just a job or a program, it was proof that one moment of heart could light up the world. That was today's story. If it moved you, hit that like button, share it with a friend who appreciates a powerful twist, and subscribe for more cinematic tales that linger long after the screen fades. Let us know in the comments where you're watching from.